The saleswoman didn't even look up when the woman entered. It had drizzled that afternoon in Chicago, and Miss Luxury, luxury clothes, imported perfumes, polished marble floors, smelled of expensive flowers, and filtered air conditioning. The woman who walked through the door wore a simple blouse, her hair tied back without any embellishment, and a fabric bag on her arm, nothing that warranted attention. At least that's what Brooke, the 26-year-old saleswoman with red lipstick and manicured nails, decided in less than 3 seconds. She continued folding, scarves in the counter as if the customer were part of the scenery. A piece out of place, who would soon realize she was in the wrong spot. The woman walked slowly between the racks. She lightly ran her fingers over a sand-colored Italian wool blazer, turned the tag over, and read the price without blinking. 4,200 Rs. She placed the blazer back on the hanger with the same care as someone rearranging a work of art. Brooke watched out of the corner of her eye and let out an audible sigh, as if enduring an inconvenient presence. When the woman approached to ask if the blazer was available in another color, Brooke replied without turning her face, "Only the one on the rack." There was no, "Can I help you?" No smile, not even the basic gesture of acknowledging that someone was there. The woman didn't answer. She stood still for a second, looking at the saleswoman with an expression that wasn't anger or hurt. It was something quieter, deeper, like someone who had seen that scene many times and learned to keep it inside her heart without making a sound. She walked to the fitting room, carrying the blazer and 2 other items she had chosen alone, in silence. Brooke huffed to her colleague Jessica, who was arranging the window display, and said in a voice low enough to seem discreet, loud enough to be heard, "You're not even going to buy anything." It was at that moment that the doorbell rang again. The woman in the fitting room was named Anna Schultz. She was 53 years old, with black hair and a few gray strands she never wanted to cover, and a calm demeanor that people often mistook for shyness. It wasn't shyness, it was economy. Anna had learned early on that certain battles aren't worth fighting, and that conserving energy is a form of intelligence that people like Brooke would never need to understand. She had spent her entire life being underestimated, at school where she was the cleaning lady's daughter, at the bank where she waited a long time to be served, at restaurants where she always got a table near the bathroom. Each episode had left a thin, invisible sediment within her, which she transformed not into resentment, but into focus. The Italian wool blazer draped perfectly over her shoulders. She looked at herself in the fitting room mirror under the slightly yellowish light and felt something few people around her could imagine: the silent pleasure of someone who knows exactly what they want. Anna had founded her logistics company 18 years ago, starting with a borrowed VW van and a notebook. Today, her fleet numbered 140 vehicles. She didn't usually talk about it. She saw no need. The people who needed to know already knew. As for the others, like Brooke, she let them have whatever opinion they wanted. Outside the fitting room, Brooke and Jessica chatted, unconcerned about the volume of their conversation. Jessica was 24, the newest addition to the store, and still carried the discomfort of someone who senses something is wrong but doesn't quite know how to name it. She folded a silk skirt with her eyes downcast, while Brooke complained about the customer in an expert tone. These kinds of people just come in to look, touch everything, and leave without buying anything. We waste time. Jessica didn't answer. You just kept folding. There was one thing Jessica knew that Brooke didn't. She had seen the customer arrive by car, a dark, new, discreet sedan. But she said nothing. When Anna emerged from the fitting room with the 3 items in her arm, Brooke was on the phone, laughing about something with a colleague from another store. She didn't look. Anna went to the counter and carefully placed the clothes on the polished glass. She waited. Brooke finished the call without haste, turned on her heel, and stared at the pile of clothes with an expression that mixed surprise and impatience. "Are you going to take all of this?" Her voice had that condescending lightness of someone who doesn't expect an affirmative answer. Anna looked her in the eyes for the first time since entering the store and replied with an almost surgical calm, "It depends if you have the blazer in gray too." Brooke frowned, turned to check the system with a sigh, and it was at that moment that the door opened with that same jingle of the doorbell, and this time the air in the store changed texture. The woman who entered was Robin Grace Jones, 51 years old, short copper-colored hair, an impeccable beige suit, and the walk of someone who had built every inch of that space with her own decisions. She swept the room with a quick professional glance, the window display, the visible stock, the 2 employees, and then stopped. There was a customer at the counter, alone, waiting, with 3 items in front of her and no one attending to her. Robin understood the whole situation in less than 5 seconds. But what made the blood rush to her neck was the next instant. She recognized the woman's face at the counter. She had known Anna Schultz for 12 years. Robin didn't say anything immediately. That was her way. She never reacted before observing. She walked to the counter with measured steps, greeted Anna with a brief, genuine hug, and stood beside her as if occupying territory. Brooke returned from the system with a somewhat distracted expression and took almost 2 seconds to realize that the shop owner was there, standing, looking at her with an attention that was anything but casual. Brooke's smile appeared too quickly, too wide, and came too late. Robin didn't return it. She simply said, in a low, articulate voice, "Could you show Anna the blazers from the new stock? The ones that aren't on the rack yet?" It wasn't a suggestion. Brooke hurried to the storage room, and Jessica, who had seen everything from the shop window, felt her stomach clench. She had known Brooke for 8 months. She knew how she treated customers who didn't seem wealthy enough. The sidelong glance, the calculated sigh, the attention that never quite reached her. Jessica had done what many people do when they witness a small, commonplace injustice. She stayed quiet, convinced herself it wasn't about her, and continued folding clothes. But now, with Robin there, the weight of that silence was beginning to take shape. Jessica looked at Anna and saw that she was examining a leather wallet with the same calm as always, as if nothing had happened, as if she didn't need the world to adjust to prove what she already knew about herself. Anna and Robin met at a charity dinner in 2014 where they ended up at the same table almost by accident. Robin was trying to attract investors to expand her store. Anna was trying to renew a fleet. They had spent 3 hours exchanging stories about starting from scratch, about bank rejections, about the exhaustion of having to prove their competence twice as much as others. Since then, they had met only a few times, but maintained the kind of respect that doesn't need frequency to be real. Robin had recommended Anna for 2 logistics contracts that changed the scale of her company. Anna had sent flowers when Robin's store turned 10. It was a friendship made of precise gestures and respectful absences. Brooke returned with 4 blazers folded over her arm, including 2 gray ones that weren't available on the rack. She placed everything on the counter with a delicacy she hadn't shown before and began explaining the fabrics in a voice that had completely changed tone. Softer, more attentive, with that automatic deference that appears when people realize they've misjudged the hierarchy. Anna listened slowly, touched the fabrics, asked technical questions about the origin of the wool and the dyeing process. Brooke couldn't answer the second question. She looked to Robin for help and found only silence. Robin answered Anna's question precisely, then added, "Anna has an exceptional eye for fabric. She's the one who introduced me to the Italian supplier I still use today." Brooke blinked. Jessica, from the shop window, heard the sentence and felt the ground of her interpretation rearrange itself. The woman in the simple blouse and fabric bag had connections with international suppliers. The woman Brooke had dismissed in 3 seconds probably knew more about those clothes than the saleswoman who was supposed to present them. Jessica put down her silk skirt and stood still, as if needing a moment to absorb her own blindness. Anna chose the charcoal gray blazer, the sand-colored blazer she had seen first, a pair of tailored trousers, and a silk scarf. While Brooke wrapped the items in tissue paper, her hands slightly less steady than usual, Anna turned to Robin and said something that sounded like a private conversation, but was audible to the whole room. "Your shop looks even more beautiful than last time. You always know how to choose what's worthwhile." Robin smiled. It was a smile that carried more than courtesy. It carried the weight of two women who knew exactly what was being said between the lines. Brooke continued wrapping without looking up. The card Anna placed on the counter was black, with no visible logo, the name embossed in gold. Brooke picked it up with 2 fingers as if touching something unexpected, swiped it, and returned it in a voice that had lost all its previous condescending lightness. The total was 9,380 rees. Brooke said, "Thank you," twice, unnecessarily, and neither sounded like what she truly meant. Anna put the card away, picked up the bags, and looked at Brooke for a second. Not with anger, not with triumph, just with that same quiet, deep expression of someone who has seen this scene many times before. Jessica finished arranging the window display and went to the bathroom at the back of the store. She closed the door, stood in front of the mirror, and remained still for almost a minute. She had remained silent when she should have spoken. He had folded clothes while a customer was treated like an intruder. She had seen the car on the street and kept the information to herself, as if it were an advantage and not a responsibility. In the mirror, she couldn't find a version of herself that made her comfortable. She washed her hands, took a deep breath, and went back to the salon. But something inside her had shifted, and she knew she wasn't going back to the same place. Anna was almost at the door when Brooke made the mistake some people make when they realize they've lost ground. She tried to regain it by laughing. She said, with that forced lightness of someone who wants to appear as if everything has always been normal, "Come back anytime, okay? We have news every week." The tone was that of someone offering a favor. Anna stopped. She didn't turn around immediately. She stood with her back to her for 2 seconds that seemed to occupy much more space than 2 seconds should. Then she turned slowly, looked at Brooke with absolute clarity, and said simply, "I know." There was no irony. There was no warmth. It was a sentence that closed a door carefully, without a doorway, without drama, but with a firmness that left no doubt about what was being concluded. Robin waited for Anna to leave, waited for the door to close, waited for the sound of footsteps to fade down the marble corridor of the mall. Then she turned to Brooke with an expression that wasn't fury. It was something harder to bear than fury. It was clinically clear disappointment. The kind of look that doesn't scream because it doesn't need to. She said, "I want to talk to you, not now, at 6 o'clock when you close." Brooke opened her mouth, closed it, opened it again. Robin had already turned her back. She walked to the back room of the store with steps that neither hurried nor hesitated, and closed the door behind her with a dry click that echoed through the entire hall like a sentence. Jessica returned from the bathroom and found Brooke standing behind the counter, her face slightly pale and her eyes fixed on the closed back door. The salon was quiet. The background music was still low and indifferent, as if nothing had happened. Jessica went to her position at the window display, but felt the weight of what was to come resting on both shoulders. At 6 o'clock, she knew something was going to change. The question was how much that change would include her own silence. Because Robin was the type of person who asked direct questions, and Jessica had been there the whole time, seen everything, and hadn't said a word. At 6 o'clock, the last customer left, and Jessica locked the glass door. The mall was still buzzing outside, but inside the store, the silence had a different quality, the kind of silence that precedes a conversation that can no longer be postponed. Robin emerged from the back room with a cup of coffee in hand and sat on the upholstered bench near the counter, the same bench where customers waited while their clothes were wrapped. It was a calculated gesture, perhaps unconscious but powerful. She wasn't behind any desk. There was no hierarchy of furniture, just 3 women in a closed room. He looked at Brooke and said, "Tell me what happened today." It wasn't a question. It was an invitation with teeth. Brooke began with the defense people construct when they know they've made a mistake but haven't yet decided to admit it. She said she hadn't seen the customer arrive, that she was busy with the stockroom, that she didn't know who the woman was, that if she had known, she would have acted differently. Each sentence was technically plausible and emotionally false, and Robin listened with an attention that offered no place to hide. When Brooke finished, there was a pause. Then Robin turned to Jessica, who was standing near the window with her hands clasped in front of her, and asked in the same calm voice, "And you? What did you see?" Jessica took a deep breath, and this time, she didn't remain silent. Jessica told everything. Brooke's sigh when Anna entered, the whispered phrase about the customer not buying anything. The phone call Brooke didn't interrupt when Anna went to the counter. She also told about the car, that she had seen it, that she had kept to herself, that she had remained silent when she should have acted. Her voice didn't tremble, but there was an honest tension in it, of someone saying something difficult because it's the right thing to do, not because it's easy. When she finished, she looked at Brooke. Brooke was staring at the marble floor with an expression that had crossed the line between defense and exposure, and was now in nameless territory. Robin carefully placed the cup on the counter. She remained silent for a moment that no one attempted to fill. Then she said, in a voice that showed she had weighed each word before speaking, "I don't sell clothes to those who can afford them. I built this shop for those who deserve to be treated with respect, and that's priceless." Anna Schultz. She came in here like any customer has the right to, and she was treated like an inconvenience. That's not a misjudgment, it's a character flaw. Brooke looked up. There was no longer any defense left on her face, only the weariness of someone who had lost a battle that had begun long before she realized it. The conversation ended with Robin announcing that Brooke was being let go from the store with notice and all rights respected, but let go nonetheless. There was no negotiation. There were no second chances in that space, because Robin understood that certain cultures settle in silence and only leave when someone decides the silence is over. Before leaving, Brooke grabbed her bag, her coat, and paused for a second at the door. It seemed she was going to say something. She didn't. She left without looking at Jessica, without looking at Robin, and the glass door closed behind her with the same sound as the doorbell that had announced Anna's arrival hours before, as if the day had decided to close its own circle. 3 days later, Anna received a message from Robin. Short, without embellishment. "Thank you for continuing to be who you are inside my store." Anna read it in the back seat of the car, on her way to a meeting at the port of Santos, with the city rushing past the window at weekday speed. She stared at the message for a few seconds, then typed, "Your store is too beautiful to be small inside." She put her phone in her pocket and didn't think about it anymore. She didn't need to. The charcoal gray blazer was on the rack in her office, still wrapped in tissue paper, waiting for the right occasion. She knew exactly what it would be, and she knew that when it arrived, she would wear it with the same calm with which she did everything, without needing to announce anything to anyone. Jessica was promoted to customer service supervisor 2 months later. Robin didn't give a speech at the time. He simply placed an envelope on the counter one Tuesday morning and said, "You've learned the difference between seeing and acting. That's worth more than any training I could give you." Jessica opened the envelope later, alone, in the bathroom. The same bathroom where she had stood in front of the mirror the day it all happened. She read the promotion letter with tears in her eyes, not just from joy, but from the kind of emotion that comes when a person realizes that a difficult choice has led to a true place. She carefully folded the letter and put it in her wallet, where it would remain for years. The Miss Luxury store remained at the same address, with the same marble floor and the same expensive floral scent. But there was something different about how the space welcomed people, an attentiveness that began at the door, a gaze that didn't judge anyone before greeting them. Small changes, invisible to those who don't know what to look for, but absolutely present to those who have been treated as if they didn't exist. Anna returned to the store once, months later, unannounced. She entered wearing the same simple blouse, the same tied-back hair, the same fabric bag. Jessica recognized her even before she had completely crossed the threshold, went to meet her with a smile that was anything but formal, and said, "We've got some new things that I think you'll like." Anna smiled. It was a rare smile, the kind she didn't easily give. And the two walked together among the racks, while outside the city continued on, indifferent and noisy, unaware of what had changed inside. If this story touched you deeply, consider subscribing to the channel and turning on notifications. Every week, there's a new story worth listening to until the end.